Hello everyone, I hope you guys are doing good. So as I've told you, I'm going to do some numericals on the dipoles and other part of the electric field which we have done so far. So today we're going to be talking about the dipole in the non-uniform electric field and the uniform electric field, and then we're going to see some questions in that. Well, in today's video I'm going to actually summarize all the important formulae which will be required by you guys in solving numericals. So that also I'm going to do, where you can take the screenshot of the screenshot at when I'm done writing all those formulae. Fair enough, guys. So let's start. So let's first heading that we have over here is dipole in the non-uniform electric field. Let's see what happens over there. So basically we'll be talking about the force on the dipole when it is kept in the non-uniform and the uniform electric field. Fair enough. Let's say I have the electric field which is E naught I cap. Well, so basically it's nothing but the field in the x direction, right? And it is not constant. If I put, let's suppose, x over here, E naught x, simple as that. In this case you can see that the field will change with the value of x, right? So we get to find what's going to be the force on the dipole because of this electric field. All right then. Okay, let's say if I have a dipole with a negative q over here and a positive q over here, we always assume that the dipole has a very small distance between the charges. That's one thing which is well understood. Okay, let's say the distance between them is 2a. That's the distance between the charges of the dipole. Since this field is existing in this way, let's say we have the field over here E, that is E naught, let's say x over here. Now we have to find the force acting on this dipole. Well guys, we know that force is equals to E times Q over here. Now the force should be how much? The force in this should be, the moment it reaches here, this is going to have the higher magnitude, right, at this particular point because of the x coming up into the picture, right? So the net force on this should be towards right and force on this should be towards left. So the net force on this dipole should be, I would say, Q, which is this one, E plus delta E. Well, delta is change in the electric field over this period of time, over this length. That's what meaning of delta E, minus Q E. That's because of this thing. Okay, now so the net force should be how much? Q times of delta E. Now let us understand how the delta E change, value of delta E over here. Well, delta E is nothing but change in the field with respect to x. That's all. Now for what length it has changed? For a length of how much? 2 times of a. Well, that should be 2a. Can I put it here? So f should be q times of, and if delta E is very small, if the distance is very small, this could be seen as dE by dx times of 2a. Both are equal, right? For the small distance it should be q times of dE over dx times of 2a, and that's going to be q times 2a dE over dx. Well, q times of 2a is nothing but the dipole moment of this dipole. So can I just write F should be, if I talk about the magnitude of the force, that should be P dE over dx, like this. Fair enough. So that's how the dipole reacts. The dipole experiences the force if it is kept in the non-uniform electric field, isn't it? Okay, note it down quickly, and then we're gonna see one numerical based on this. Okay, now let's say we have a dipole and we need to find the force on this because of a charge q placed on its axis. That's what we go to find. Now let's say if I have a dipole kept here, minus q and this is plus q. Let's say at a certain distance I have a charge q placed over here. I just need to find the force on the dipole because of this charge q. Let the distance of this charge from the center be r. Okay, and you can assume the dipole length is 2 times of a. That's pretty okay. Okay, just now we have seen the net force is given as dipole moment P dE by dx. Let's keep it in mod and being the safe side. Now the field because of a point charge, right, because the field is produced over here by this point charge and that is going to influence this dipole, right? So the field due to a point charge is how much? Kq over x square. Over here, x is nothing but r, I can say. Okay, let's say I'm gonna keep this dipole moment, and d by dx is nothing but k cube. Let's say over here x square in this case, right? Now if I want to differentiate this, then that should be how much? P, k will come out, q will come out. Differentiation of 1 by x square is nothing but minus 2 over x cube. Now this should be 2p k cube over x square with a negative sign. Let's put it here this way. I hope this is okay to everyone, right? Now since we're talking about the magnitude, I can actually take the mod of this. So that's going to be how much? 2p k cube, x over here is r, so let's say r cube. Now why this negative sign comes over here? Look, it's coming up, the net force over here will be more, right? Because the distance, less, because the distance over here is, this part is less, this part is distance is less, this part is going to be more. So the force over here will be towards left, which is going to be more compared to the field over here, which is towards right. Okay, let me just make it very positive, very clear cut. It's a positive charge, right? So the field should be towards left, and the force again will be towards left, so that's why we get a negative sign over here. So if you're talking about the direction of the force, it should be towards left, that is negative I cap. All okay? I'm sure this is clear to everyone. Now let's see an alternative method of solving it. I'm sure you guys know that electrostatic force obeys the Coulomb's third law, Newton's third law, right? Yeah. So whatever force this charge is going to experience, the same force will be experienced by this dipole. That's how. Now let's say try and find the next thing. What we can do, find force on charge q. Well, that should be towards right, and the force on the dipole will be opposite Newton's third law, because this is a electrostatic force is a conservative force, so and it actually follows the rule of third law we have seen in the Coulomb's vector form and all. Okay, now if I talk about the force on this, because of this dipole, I should find the electric field at this particular point because of this dipole, and then I can find the force. And we know that electric field on the axis of dipole is nothing but 2k cube over r cube. Sorry, 2kp, my bad, 2kp over r cube. So the force on this charge should be 2kp cube over r cube, and the same force will be experienced by this dipole, Newton's third law, action reaction pair. This is central force also, so that's going to be 2kp cube by r cube. I'm sure you guys are done with this, right? Now let's see what happens if I place this dipole in the uniform electric field. Okay, let's see what is the force, or what happens when the dipole is placed in the uniform electric field. Well, when I say uniform, means the value of the force should be, electric field should be constant throughout. That's the meaning of uniform electric field. Now the next point is dipole in uniform electric field. Okay, let's say I have kept a dipole over here, making some angle, probably let's say this is my x-axis, let's say this is your dipole. We have electric field, let's say in this direction, okay, which is uniform throughout its space. Now let the distance between the end of the dipole is, let's say, d over here. We have a negative q charge here and a positive q charge over here. Let's say this angle is theta. Now if I try and figure out the force acting on this dipole, on the extremes of the dipole, I would see that the force acting on this particular charge over here should be towards right? That's going to be q times of E, and the force acting over here should be towards left, that's going to be q times of E. If I find the sum of the force, net force, because force is a vector quantity, we would see that the net force acting on this dipole should be how much? 0. I cap minus I cap, right? It's going to be 0. Though the net force is 0, but it creates a couple, right? That's called torque over here. We know that torque is given as the force into perpendicular distance, right? Force into perpendicular distance of the point of action of the force. Okay, so the force between is, we know T, and let's try and find the perpendicular distance. If it is theta, I mean this is going to be theta, so this length should be how much? This length should be d sine theta. Alright, then the torque would be easily calculated as T is equals to F, which is QE. Perpendicular distance is how much? D sine theta. D sine theta. Well, guys, Q into D is dipole, right? Dipole is, moment is a vector quantity. So we have P E sine theta, and when we have sine theta, can I just say this is nothing but P cross E? So the torque is given as P cross E. Now, so this torque going to create a couple and probably start rotating this way. Now the fact is, since the torque depends upon the sine of the angle between the dipole and the axis, x-axis over here, so this is going to be maximum when angle is how much? 90 degree, right? So I can say that maximum torque is maximum at theta equals to 90 degree, and when it gets aligned itself along the axis, angle is going to be 0, and that's going to be minimum at theta equals to 0 degree. Well, what happens if I leave this dipole this way perpendicular to the axis? The electric field will align itself in this direction to have minimum torque, right? That's a equilibrium position. So that's what happens over here. The electric field actually aligns the dipole in its own direction over the period of time. If I leave it at the vertical, it will get adjusted along this after some swings and all. Like suppose this, it will start swinging, and then gradually it will come to the horizontal position, and that's the equilibrium position. Well, fair enough. Having said this, let us see some more fact about this. Before that, I'm going to put up all the formulae that we have come across in this entire period of time with the electric field. Alright guys, so what we have learned, the field due to point charge that was given as K Q by R square. That was a field due to a point charge. Simple as that. Then we have learned about ring. If I have a ring of radius, let's say R, I'm writing it here, ring having a charge, let's say Q, and if a distance is, let's say R, then the field at this point, electric field at this point, was given as KQ X over R square. Okay, let's keep it X. Chalo X. Okay, let's keep it X. Then K R square plus X square to the power of 3 by 2. This is one of the most important formulae that you will be needing up in solving a lot of questions over here, right? Now, then we had due to the arc. Let's suppose instead of giving the ring, if they would have given you some arc at specific angle at the center, let's suppose if I have an arc making some angle alpha, probably at this point, let's suppose this is alpha, I call it as a central angle. Then the field at this particular point, let's say E was given as 2k lambda over r into sine of alpha by 2. We have done so many questions based on the ring, arc and all, so with the different angles, but this is one of the general formulae that you guys should be knowing. Now the next part was disc. Okay, the fourth one, on axis of disc. On axis of disc. In the case of disc, the electric field E was given as sigma by 2 epsilon naught. One second, sigma by 2 epsilon naught 1 minus x over r square plus x square under root, where x is the distance of the point on the axis of the disc and r is the radius of the disc. Now going further, we have actually derived what was the electric field due to infinite sheet of charge, right? Infinite sheet of charge. If you remember, infinite sheet of charge. So that was given as sigma over 2 epsilon naught. I have actually derived from here. We have got to know the disk of charge. Now the next comes very important because it's straight line. So, line of charge. Next one due to infinite charge, or probably you can say a line of charge. Line of charge. In that case, if you remember, we have found parallel as well as vertical component of field. So in that case, E perpendicular, I would say, was given as K lambda by, let's say D is a distance, times sine of theta 1 plus sine of theta 2. Right, that why it was, that is the distance of the point from the line, right? Now then we had parallel. So E parallel was k lambda over d times of cos of theta 1 minus cos of theta 2, and I've taught it. I've actually made one complete video on this lines of field. If you guys want to check, you can go ahead and check it up. So there I've told you to choose theta 1 as a smaller angle, though it does not matter a lot, but yeah, you should be choosing that. That's going to be helpful for all of you. Now we have done some more derivations that where the field is going to be maxima or minima on the axis of the ring. If you remember, let's suppose again one more thing, number 7th, you can remember this due to semi-infinite wire. Like that is, if I had something like this and I wanted to find the field, I'm gonna be using it in today's numerical. Let's say this point, which is the distance of d, I wanted to find the electric field due to this semi-infinite wire. That was nothing but, if you remember, E was given as root 2 times of k lambda by d, where lambda is the charge density, lambda coulomb per meter. That's what it was. Lambda to root 2 times of k lambda by d was the field at the one end of the semi-infinite wire at the distance of d from there. Now when we're talking about the ring, the maxima and the minima was, let's suppose if I had a ring, if you remember this graph, the maxima, the electric field would have been something like this, this thing was the electric field, right? So this maxima and this minima was at root of r by 2, where r is the, not r, I would choose capital, r by 2, and this is minus r by 2. At these 2 points we had achieved maxima and minima in the case of your ring. Now after that we've studied about the hemisphere. Okay, you guys can note it down in one page. That's going to be helpful for you, all of you. Actually, I wanted to put up on the same, everything on the same board, but then due to the board size I could not do that. Now let's say 9, due to hemisphere, at the center, hemisphere, if you remember, I have actually done the derivation of this. In that case it was E was sigma by 4 epsilon naught. That is, we had the hemisphere, if you remember, there was a center, and at the center we had to find the electric field. At this particular point it was sigma by 4 epsilon naught. Now then we moved on to dipole. So dipole, the first on axis of dipole, and then we had perpendicular bisector of dipole, and then we had number 12 at general point in dipole. So these were the three things we have done, right? So what was the field on the axis of dipole? 2 kp by r cube, right? It was nothing but 2 kp. Let's see how to remember these things. 2 kp by r cube. In the perpendicular bisector, this 2 goes away. I will be left with kp by r cube. And when we had the general point, when theta was coming into the picture, then this part remains same. I'm just telling you how to remember it. Kp by r cube will remain same. The only additional feature that we're going to be having is the cos theta coming up, because we have the angle over there. So that is given as 1 plus 3 cos square theta, right? So these are the couple of formula that you guys should be knowing. It should be like having it on the tip of the finger of the tip of the fingers actually, and we'll be using these things quite extensively in solving a lot of questions. I'm going to show you a couple of questions like that. I'm sure that could be helpful to all of you. I'm sure you must have done questions like that. Let's have two questions, and then I'll move to another questions which has appeared in JEE. Okay. So what I'm planning is, once I'm done with this complete electrostatic, I'll be doing all the questions of this chapter which has appeared in JEE in the previous years. So what I mean to say, probably if I'm done with after I'm done with the capacitor, because a lot of questions comes from the capacitors in JEE and spheres, of course. So once I'm done with those topics, one lecture I'll be dedicating for the questions which has appeared in the previous years of JEE. Okay guys, let's try and do some questions. Okay, let's say if I talk about the dipole, if these are the, let's say example 1, the charges are arranged on equilateral triangle in such a way that here we have, let's say, plus 2q charge, here we have minus q, here we have minus q. Now if they ask you, if someone asks you, find the dipole moment of this combination. Now first of all, if I look at this, I do not actually see any dipole as of now right away, but the moment I look at this charge 2q and these two negatives q and q, I can see that I'll be forming one dipole with this. So I'm just breaking this charge in plus q and plus q. I'm sure that's okay with all of you. So I'm going to have one dipole and I'm going to have one more dipole, right? So basically what we have two dipoles over here. Now let us talk about the direction of dipole moment. We know the direction of dipole moment is from negative to the positive charge along that direction. So dipole moment because of this combination should be along this way, right? Okay, so if I just erase this up, so this is going to be, let's say, P1. P1 is because of these two charge, this dipole. P2 should be along this way. P2 should be along this way, and I've told you this is an equilateral triangle. So let's say going to be 60, 60. I'll let the side length be A for apple. Okay, then the net dipole moment definitely should be, along this direction. That is a net dipole. Alright, then we can use the vector rules of addition because these are the dipole moment is a vector quantity. So the P net should be your P square, and both the dipoles moment going to be equal. So I can say P square plus 2P square cos of 60 degree, because the angle between them is 60. So I'll be having 2p square plus 2p square into 1 by 2 cos 60 is 1 by 2 cancelled. So I'm having 3p square under root. So the net dipole should be p root 3, and that's all. So next, the net dipole moment is going to be root 3 times of p, and p can easily find, right? Q times of A, that's your dipole moment. So if in terms of Q, it should be nothing but Q times A root 3. All okay guys? Fair enough. Let's quickly move on to one more segment where we have to find the electric field because of different arrangements. Let's have a couple of examples of that as well. Alright, let me keep it there. Okay, now let's say example 2. If I have a wire like this, making some circular arc over here and getting away, in this direction. Okay, let's say this way. Okay, so here we have an arc, this point, and I want to find the electric field, and let's say at this point P. Fair enough guys. Now this length is R, of course, even this is, let's say, R. Okay, the charge density on this is, let's say, lambda coulomb per meter throughout the wire, throughout this wire. So this wire is bent in the shape of straight, an arc, and again a wire. So this is a definite wire. All right, let's see. Now we need to find the field. Okay, let's say these two are going till infinity. I'm saying these are going till infinity. Now we have to find the electric field because of this arrangement at point P. Alright, then what we can do, we can actually look at this entire question in three parts. The field due to this part, which is a semi-infinite wire, field due to this arc, which is making an angle of 90 degree at the center, and the field because of this segment, which is again a semi-infinite wire. Now probably if you have a good amount of imagination, so you can just go ahead and get it in easily, but I'm going to deal in the terms of vectors so that the calculations remains probably correct. There should not be any chance of making mistakes in that. So let's see what I'm going to do. I'm going to discuss these things in three segments, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, let's say segment 1, 2 and 3. Okay, because of this segment we're gonna find electric field because of this segment. So E perpendicular will be having, because of this we'll be having some E perpendicular, that should be K lambda by R sine of theta 1 plus sine of theta 2. Theta 1, if it is infinite wire, theta 1 gonna be 90 degree, and this theta 2 should be 0 degree. So I can write simply sine 90 is 1. This is gonna be your I cap. Now because of this, I'm going to find the parallel component. Alright, the parallel component should be how much? E parallel should be K lambda by D cos of theta 1 minus cos of theta 2. theta 1 is 90 sorry, theta 1 is 90, theta 2 is 0. So I can say over here it's going to be minus j, because the parallel should be downward, right? I've discussed it. So the net field due to segment 1 should be how much? K lambda by r I cap minus K lambda by, okay, let's say r only over here, K lambda by r j cap 1. Likewise I'm going to put for this segment 3 and segment 2. Okay, due to segment 2 segment 2, or let's say first find this is because of segment 1 E net due to segment 3. Okay, segment 3 perpendicular should be in capital J direction. That again going to be how much? K lambda by r j cap, and your parallel should be along negative x, that should be minus K lambda by r. I'm sure you guys will agree with this. Okay, same process, I've done it directly. Now let's say talk about this thing. Okay, then because of this E net due to second part, that should be, just now we've learned, that's nothing but 2k lambda over r sine of alpha by 2. Alpha over is how much? 90 degree. The sine of 45 degree. So that's going to be root 2 times of k lambda over r right away. Now if I'll add it up, I'll be getting the net electric field due to this arrangement. Okay guys, you can see I cap over here we have, this should be, okay, everything is correct. Okay, this should be E perpendicular should be j cap. Okay, it should be j cap, and this should be, okay, no, that was correct, I cap and j cap, everything is correct. Okay, fair enough. Now this j cap would be cancelled, this I cap would be cancelled, so the net electric field because of this arrangement would be nothing but only due to this arc, and that's going to be 2k lambda by r. Okay, let's quickly have one more question. I'm sure this is clear to all of you. So the best way is to do is to get the field in the vector form, put it there in ij cap, and then you just add them, and that's how you're going to get it quite easily. Okay, let's say example, one more example we have. Let's say if I have some arrangement like infinite state coming over here, making an arc, a semicircle, I would say a semicircle, and then going to infinity. Now I want to find the field because of this. So let's say the radius be r, charge density lambda coulomb per meter throughout it. Okay, I want to find the net electric field at this point. Let's say this point is P. No problem, again the same process. Because of these two I'm going to find, and because of this, so let me have, this is my segment 1, segment 2 and segment 3. Now let's quickly do it. E net due to segment 1. Okay, at this point P, I'm going to have perpendicular on the parallel one. So the perpendicular should be how much? K lambda, let's say this is r, everything is r over here. Okay, so K lambda by r towards right positive I cap, and downward because of the parallel K lambda over r j cap. Fair enough guys. Now let's talk about segment 3 first. U net E due to segment 3, that should be its perpendicular component, that should be K lambda by r towards left, that is negative I, right? Negative I cap, and of course we'll be talking about the parallel, that should be vertically up, isn't it? Sorry, down, that should be parallel one K lambda by r j cap, isn't it? Negative j cap. Okay, now let's talk about this arc. This arc is nothing but E due to segment 2, that should be, we have just now seen K lambda over r sine of alpha by 2. The central angle by this arc is how much? Pi. So sine pi by 2 is sine 90, so I can just write sine pi by 2. Well, that should be 2k lambda over r, that's a E segment 2, and that should be vertically up. So j cap, I have 1, I have 2, and I have third one, right? Let us try and add them. So E net, if I look at this thing, this part is going to be cancelled, right? So the E net should be E net at point P, that should be minus minus plus, so minus 2k lambda over r j cap, and this should be plus 2k lambda over r j cap. Net of this is how much? 0. So the net field at this particular point in this arrangement should be 0. Well, the idea of keeping these two questions in this lecture is to, if you get any such questions in your board exams, probably you'll be able to do it in this using this technique, right? Now let's see one question. Actually, that's a nice one. Okay, so this has appeared probably in the JEE previous exams. Now if I say that an insulated wire is kept in the right angle triangle form in the vertical plane. Let's say, I'm not writing the entire question, that's pretty long, you know. So let's say if I have a, okay, let me just make it slightly better. Okay, so yeah, now you can see this is 90 degree. Okay, now this angle is, let's say, 60 degree. This is your 30 degree. Okay, in this arrangement, let's suppose there is a chord of length, let's say L, making some angle alpha with this line segment. Let's say this is ABC, ABC. Okay, this chord is free to slide on this thing, these two sides of the wire, it is free to slide, and at the end of the chord we have two bits which are free to slide, and the surface is frictionless. And the charge on this is Q1, and the mass of this bed is M, and the charge at this point is, let's say, Q2, and the mass is M itself. Now this is in, let's suppose, in equilibrium. This entire arrangement is in equilibrium. That means this is not sliding any further, right? Now my question to you guys, find the tension in this chord and the angle alpha. Okay, and this chord is not cut, the chord is as it is, and it is in equilibrium, as assuming it's in equilibrium. So you have to find the tension in this chord, and you know, over here, and of course this angle alpha. So that is the question for you guys. Let's say what we do over here. Let us try and put all the forces over here. That's the first thing that we need to do. So if I'm talking about this side AB, so let me put this side AB over here, and there is a bed, this is the bed, and this is your B. Okay, so let's suppose this is the chord making some angle alpha. I have put it here. Now let us try, and this angle is 60 degree. Okay, this angle is 60 degree. Let us try put all the weights over, all the forces over here. The first is your mg vertically downward. Let's say mg. If it is 60, this is going to be 30 degree. Since we have the mass, there should be a normal, because it's a equilibrium, the normal reaction, let's say N1 will be, you know, in the perpendicular to the plane AB. Okay, let's say this is AB. Okay, now this normal, and there will be a tension in this direction, in this thing. Okay, since the weight is not flying away, so there should be some force which is balancing the normal, right? That's the first thing that you should be knowing. Now second thing, you should know that because of these two charges, there should be electrostatic force along this line, you know, a line of chord. So let's say that's a electrostatic force in this direction. Do you have any other force? No. Okay guys, let's say if I probably, you know, break it in this component, this along this, let's see how the mg acts. Let's try and break the components of mg in this rectangular part. This is going to be your mg cos 30 degree, and this is going to be mg sin 30 degree. Okay, likewise we will have a component of tension along this as well as along that, right here. So that I'm going to put up in the forming of equation. So that's how we can do. Now, so let me form the equation over here. So basically, I know we're going to talk about the equation at, because of the equilibrium on Q1. So this is my Q1 over here. So we're talking about the equilibrium of Q1. Later on we'll talk about the equilibrium of the Q2 to find some values of the some equation and all. Fair enough, at equilibrium on Q1. So let me first write normal 1. This normal 1 should be equals to mg sin theta mg sine 30 degree. Okay. Now in this direction we'll have t sine alpha plus t sine alpha, and there would be a force acting in this direction along this, so if it is, let's say this is alpha, so this is going to be alpha again. So the one component of this force, electrostatic force, would be acting along the normal, so that should be minus f sine of alpha. Right everyone, I hope it's clear to everyone. That's the equation of the normal one. So let's say normal world should be given as mg sine 30 is 1 by 2, mg by 2 plus t minus f is the electrostatic force, sine alpha. Okay, equation 1 has been derived. So that is because of the normal. Now let us talk about along the plane. So this force was on perpendicular of the plane, right? Now we can actually work on along the plane. Okay, so along the plane there will be a component of f acting along the plane. There would be a component of course mg acting along the plane, and there would be a component of t acting along upward, right? That we can see. So can I just say, so the component of force acting downward, that should be f cos of alpha, tension upward, so minus t cos alpha, well that should be mg cos of 30 degree. I hope you guys agree with this. Now from here I can say that f minus t cos of alpha is equals to mg cos 30 is root 3 by 2, root 3 over 2. I have two equations, isn't it guys? Well, still I cannot solve it because let's see the number of variables. N1 is variable, alpha is variable, t is variable. We have three variables. We just have two equations over here. So as of now, we cannot solve it. So what we're going to do now, we're going to talk about the equilibrium at this surface BC. All okay? So let me for now just quickly note it down so that I can go ahead and talk about equilibrium at this place. I'm going to use this space over here. Okay. So if I look at the equilibrium of plane BC on charge Q2, that should be, let us draw the figure first. So here we have this BC, okay, and here we have this bit kept here, charge Q2, mass M, and this angle is 30. Make sure you do write up the angle over there. This is 30. Okay, the chord is somewhat like this. Now look at this triangle, alpha 90, so this angle should be how much? 90 minus alpha. Okay, now we'll be having a normal N2 along the plane. We're going to be having a force in this way, right? Let me make it a bit straight. So yeah, okay, now fair enough. Now mg would be acting downward, exactly vertically downward. Mg over here, this is 30, so this angle should be 60 degree. So we'll have a component of mg along this, that's going to be mg cos 60 degree, and there should be a component of mg along this way, that's going to be mg sine of 60 degree. So these are the forces acting over here, right? Now if this angle is, now let us try and do some work on the angle. Okay, so this is 90 minus alpha. So guys, can I say this angle should be alpha, right? Because this total angle is 90 minus alpha, 90, and this angle is 90 minus alpha. This should be alpha. If it is alpha, even this is going to be alpha. Now I'm going to write the equation of equilibrium over here. That's all. Okay. So I'm going to take this space only. So again, same thing. I'm going to write equation along the plane and vertical to the plane. That's going to help ourselves. Okay, let me first write along the plane. Let's see if that can serve my purpose or not. Okay, along the plane, okay, there is a tension, of course. Let me put this tension over here. There's tension in this chord. Okay, a part of tension is acting upward, that is going to be t sine theta upward, and a part of force should be acting downward, f sine theta. So can I say f sine, this angle is alpha, f sine alpha minus t sine alpha. T sine alpha is equals to mg cos 60. I can write mg cos 60 So from here I can say F minus T sine alpha should be equals to mg over 2, and that is my third equation. Well guys, I can see from these three I can actually solve because we have three variables. Okay, now let's see how we can do it. Okay, over here T minus F sine alpha, I'm going to put it here, and then this is F minus T sine alpha. I can actually use this part over there, so I'll be getting the value of normal reaction, isn't it? I'll be getting the value of normal reactions over there. Everything is correct? Yeah, cool. Now if you know, over here we have F minus T cos theta, so then we can do it. Now let me try and write the fourth equation, which is along this way. So the fourth equation says normal. Okay, the normal 2 should be given as mg sine 60. I'm writing it here, mg sine 60 degree, a component of tension T cos alpha, and a component of force along this direction. So T cos alpha minus T sine alpha, right? T cos alpha minus F cos alpha. So I can right away say T minus F cos alpha, equation 4. Fair enough. So now I have almost everything over here that we need to solve this question. We have 4 equations, we have 3 variables. I'm sure you guys can solve it. Try this as a part of homework. You can just solve it up, and then we can meet up in the next video. Alright guys, that's it for today. Now I'll be getting into the potential and the potential energy, and as I told you, at the end I'll be solving some questions of the JEE exams, and of course I'll be covering up some NEET exams questions as well. Okay guys, so thanks for watching. Be safe and keep studying. See you guys very soon. Bye bye.